Hi everyone, and welcome to our last meditation class together for 2025. I will send you all the recording of this and it's an evergreen recording, so you can use this not only over the Christmas break but forever and ever and ever. Also, for those of you who are watching in real time, we have our chanting workshop, our midwinter chanting workshop coming up on Thursday. So from 7 until 9 p.m. on the 18th of this month, we'll have a lovely, cozy, warming midwinter chanting session. So hopefully I'll see you all there. So for now, let's get into class. So let yourself come into a comfortable cross-legged position and let the hands come onto the knees, perhaps taking Jnana Mudra if that's your practice. And we'll close down the eyes, just allow the breath to find a steady state. And we'll take the palms together into Anjali Mudra. We'll do our chant, call and repeat. Chanting Om together, taking a slow breath in first. Yogena Chittasya Padena Vacham Malam Sharirasya Chavaidhyakena Yopakarotam Pravaramuninam Patanjalim Pranjaliranatosmi. And returning your hands to your knees or your lap. And come back to a focus on your breathing. No particular pranayama right now, just focusing on your breath as it is. Notice your body's sensations and your mind's thoughts. The practice of yoga presents two paradigms to us. Number one, the goal of liberation, emancipation, freedom, and enlightenment. Four words meaning the same thing in yoga, really. But also Yoga is a brilliant path to be on to help us to handle and to manage life. So rather than getting consumed with transcendence, it is important to address the very human obstacles that crop up. Just living life is difficult as an adult, and admitting that is a really good step on the path to yoga, because we will encounter psychological pitfalls and external happenings also, often unexpected problems, and utilizing yoga as a tool to help us deal with all of those things makes logical sense. So we're not in a lofty elitism where enlightenment is the only goal. We're very much boots on the ground here as well, dealing with the human condition. So if on some of your meditation practice days you are not accessing the deep peace and stillness that is within you, and you're just finding that you can carve out a few minutes to be in quietness, and it helps you superficially just to get through the day, that doesn't mean you're less of a yogi, and it doesn't mean you're doing it wrongly. I feel in this day and age it's very important to think of the meaning of yoga. The word is to unify or to integrate both human self and spirit. To come at this practice from a place of love for oneself, but also love for others, and that we're not snooty about it. It's not all about our light, it's also about our darkness. And some days we can just do a yogasana practice, a yoga posture practice, and that's enough. And other days we can be in states of bliss. And some days we have both. So before we embark on the fullness of our session today, just be aware that you are a human, and be aware that you are also awareness. All is one anyway, but it's helpful to be cognizant of those two worlds uniting. We have both the surface, our experience on the surface, and the depth, our experience with the depth. Both are valid. Otherwise, we wouldn't need to be human. So notice your humanness in these moments, your emotions and your breath, your expectations, the feelings in your body. And you may be simultaneously aware that you are awareness itself, the perpetual, eternal infinity-based self. How confusing that we're both, but also how wonderful. The path of understanding comes from a forked junction. Two paths first, human and divine, merging through the practice of yoga, union, unity, integration, yoking, togetherness. Sometimes it forks again and splits, because understanding infinity is very difficult for a finite brain. The reason I'm going into the ins and outs of the definitions here is because many of us, myself included, often feel like we're not doing enough. We're not practicing enough, we're not being enough, we're simply not enough. And actually, this quest for perfection, or this quest of perfectionism, leads us away from the reality that we find ourselves in. And when we are led away from the reality that we find ourselves in, we are led away from the present. And when we are led away from the present, we're not doing yoga at all. So just in this moment, as a little experiment, release all of the stuff that you wish you had done. Release all of the stuff that you wish you hadn't done. Forget about the past and the future and just be here now. Be here now. Sounds so easy, doesn't it? But just for a few seconds, so there's no pressure. Just be here now. In this moment, you've carved out this time for yourself to come to your philosophy and meditation practices. You have the opportunity to do this. You're in this now space, and everything's pretty good. And your mind, particularly if your inner critic is strong, I know mine is, your mind might say, but I have this wrong with me and I have that to do, and just let that go for a moment. Just be here. Everything's pretty good. Just be here again. Everything's pretty good. Be here again. Here we are. Present moment. Presence. That's yoga. Unifying with the present moment. And on a deeper level, being presence itself. Not bound to the past. Or trying to grasp the future. Just here. if you find yourself engaging in that perfectionism, either as a motivation to do much more than you're supposed to, or as an excuse to not bother at all, where perfectionism gets in the way of progress. What I find helpful is to think of a phrase that I heard from a coach online actually recently called Joe Hudson. And he asked the question, when is an oak tree perfect? Is it perfect as an acorn? Is it perfect as those first buds and leaves come through? Is it perfect as a sapling? Is it perfect as an adolescent tree? Is it perfect as a massive 200-year-old? It's just different iterations, different evolutions of one tree. Nature doesn't argue with itself about when it's perfect and when it's not. It just is. We tend to think, oh, it'll be perfect when I'm doing this, or it would have been perfect if I didn't do that, or whatever. And I understand it's difficult, often impossible actually, to just let it go. I suppose let it go is worse advice than relax. Again, we say it in a meaningful way to ourselves and each other, just let it go, but it's not that easy. So in this moment, if you're arguing with yourself about not being a perfect oak tree, or a perfect human, or a perfect yogi, and just play with this thought that we are different iterations of ourselves through all stages of life. And whether or not we make mistakes, we will still be different iterations of ourselves. And to think that one is more perfect than the other is to discount all valid stages of life and therefore all valid opportunities within the practice. So give yourself some grace. If you can't relax, fine. If you can't let it go, fine. But give yourself some grace and forgiveness and be as present as possible. And that is enough. When we think about perfectionism as a pitfall, one of the most damaging things that particular pursuit can dump upon us is that our judgment is clouded. We're doubting our decision-making prowess. We are unable to discern and evaluate. So, Yoga Sutras to the rescue. We've been studying the niyamas this week and last week. Shaucha, Santosha, Tapas, Swadhyaya, Ishvari Pranidhana. Cleanliness, contentment, effort, surrender, and self-study. not in that precise order. When we look through the lens of the niyamas, rather than through the lens of the notion of perfectionism or perfection, we can allow the decisions we make, allow the gateways to shapeshift. If we think of different areas of our lives and different periods of change, each one of those is a little gateway. But rather than those gateways being dogmatically structured and unmoving, unchanging, and all uniformly the same, we can look through the niyamas to make our decisions. And we can morph each gateway, move the gateway, change the structure of it, the shape of it, the meaning of it. And really get into the art and the practice of decision making from a place, I'm going to say it, it's bandied around a lot these days, but of authenticity. Because when we are on the road, we think, to perfectionism, we stunt our growth actually, and we're unable to make informed decisions because we don't trust ourselves in our present state. If we believe we're not perfect, we don't trust ourselves. And that's the very time that we tend to outsource our decision-making tasks to others. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with going to a counselor or asking experts, but ultimately, wherever we are standing, whatever load we're carrying, nobody else is standing in that particular place and nobody else is carrying that particular load. So they do not fully understand, no matter how well qualified they are. Sure, if we are desperate and we need external help, we ask for it. If your car breaks down, it's best to go to a mechanic. If you're not a trained mechanic yourself, your intuition won't do it, right? So in a practical, pragmatic, tangible sense, we need other experts. But when it comes to our own internal world and life, it is better to cultivate an ability to make a decision ourselves. And when we need help with that, the niyamas are a brilliant lens to look through. If you're confused about self-care, look at the niyamas. In a conflict situation, look at the niyamas. In relationships, look at the niyamas. And actually, we'd normally look through the glasses or the spectacles of the yamas for relationship because they are to do with our interactions with other people. But it's equally valid to gaze into yourself through the niyamas as well, to check in with your relationship with yourself. If you're unsure as to how to embrace a new beginning, same thing, look through the niyamas. When we do this, when we look through the niyamas to solve our problems, to help us to have a more informed decision, we can build a brand new relationship with self. I love the thought of your human eyes meeting your third eye. So the paradigm again that I began with today, that we are both human and divine at once. When we're talking to each other, we look into each other's eyes. So thinking about that internal dialogue as your human eyes looking towards your third eye, and your third eye looking back at you. So your humanity looking at your divinity, and your divinity looking back at you. And this connection, by the way, is there from birth, even before, but obscured by the pressures of life. That connection between little self and big self, human self and divine self, that's there all the time. Much like the connection that we feel when we're in deeper states of meditation. That connection is there all the time. Meditation is, as we know, allowing ourselves the stillness to uncover the natural state of peace that has been buried under stress, anxiety, pain. Our inability to have the courage to let love be our guide comes from years of fear. My interpretation is that if we continue to cover our wounds, they can't possibly heal. So when we give ourselves the silence, the calmness, we can truly see, big, big letters, see, S-E-E, ourselves. So not only is the connection between our human selves and our spirit always there, but our ability to meditate is always there. We just have to give ourselves some time to realize those connections. We've often heard of, and I'm sure I've mentioned it before, the self-realization, the realized beings. This is what it means. We realize who we are. We are meditators, we are spirit, as well as human. As well as human. And it is the human that realizes the spirit. The spirit already knows. Spirit knows it's spirit. Spirit knows that it is embodied while it's in human form. But our practice is to help us as humans to realize, oh yeah, I'm spirit as well. And then perfectionism just gets blown out of the water. It's just a thing that doesn't make any sense. Perfectionism is the only sort of goal, really, that ego has that gets in the way. And perfectionism is only an egoic goal. Perfectionism is never a goal of spirit. Spirit just is, it's not trying. So the niyamas can enter stage left and help us with this also. Shaucha, cleanliness. Santosha, contentment. Tapas, effort and self-discipline. Swadhyaya, self-study. And Ishvari Pranidhana, surrender. Got it in the correct order this time. When we examine ourselves through these concepts, through these 5 brilliant concepts, we can notice more readily, ego has the reins again. That's fair enough, I'm human. But we'll just ditch the perfectionism now. For many of us, the tapas is a necessity, the self-discipline and the effort, particularly if we're a little addicted to our practices. So on paper, it looks like a very noble attribute, but even still, there are layers of ego there on occasion, if I'm to be truthful. We can very easily get caught in dogma, and our self-discipline becomes a religion almost, which is dangerous. We've seen what that does. Tears the fabric of society apart and makes violence okay, for example. So we can be disciplined, we can engage in a practice of tapas, but just watching the ego. We're not belittling others for not having discipline. We're not bigging ourselves up for having it. We're simply utilizing it as a tool to manage life and to realize the connection with spirit, so that we don't grasp it too tightly. You can probably hear notes of the yamas coming in here. Truthfulness and non-grasping. Satya aparigraha. So we can really study ourselves and use the niyamas to drop into the psychology a little bit. Again, it's the balance, isn't it? We're not underdoing, we're not overdoing, and just watching that all the time. Our ability then to discern and to make decisions and to trust ourselves, those capacities begin to be elevated, and we're less confused. This, for me personally, without going too far into a me diatribe, but confusion is a major issue for me. And I do yoga for many reasons, but one of them is to gain clarity, to get through the soup, and to come out the other side and be able to make an informed decision. I don't think I'm alone there. There's probably a few of you who can identify with that. What iteration of the oak tree are you now? What iteration of the human being are you now? And why is your ego chasing perfection? And these questions are not very deep at all. They're easy for everybody to ask themselves. You might not answer them straight away, but asking the question is always helpful to any practice. So just calling up a decision that you have to make, a big decision that you have to make at the moment. Maybe you don't have a big one, maybe there's several little ones, and just thinking of one that you have to come to some conclusion with. And it could be something really shallow. It just could be like, what are you going to get your mom for Christmas? Or whatever, if you have the privilege to have living parents, or your sibling, or your loved ones, or your friend, or your dog, or whoever. It could be something really on the surface, but this is part of human life. We often would ask someone. We might ask the person, or we might ask a friend, or we might look up online. But actually we can just sit with ourselves and see what comes up. I think sometimes we find it tricky to answer our own questions, whether they be superficial or deep, because we haven't allowed space and time for inspiration, for the muse to arrive, for creativity. We are so, and I say this probably every class, so apologies for being a broken record, we are so bombarded by external stuff that we have forgotten how to listen inside. As a culture, we have forgotten how to meditate. We have forgotten how to connect with who we truly are. And it is making us suffer. That disconnection, that forgetfulness is the cause of our suffering. So you can actually congratulate yourself in this very moment for holding this space gently in your cupped hands, for giving yourself this time to re-find, to realize that connection again. Forget about the past. Forget about the future for a few moments. Just be here. Maybe if your spirit had a voice, it would say, be here. I'm here, be with me. So let's meditate. Let's find that connection again. See how your daily practice allows you to take that connection with you as a transferable skill, to clarify, to help us to make decisions that are in alignment with our highest good. I'll give a little bit of guidance at the beginning and then we'll sit in silence together. Please feel free to move if you need to, if you've got pins and needles or discomfort, pain. Shift your seat and use extra props if you need to, stretch out if you need to. Maybe deepen the breath if you like. Simple, superficial things like having a cough or a swallow, scratching your nose, whatever you need to do. Maybe even take a break, go to the loo, pause the video. And you can have a sense of looking at yourself. So giving your human eyes a direction in which to gaze. You can physiologically, behind the closed eyes, look up and in towards Agnya Chakra, towards your third eye. Or, and I quite like this one, visualize your human self looking at the two-petaled lotus, purple, with the calligraphy written. Or your human self as you look now, looking at your interpretation of your spirit. And it can, for the purposes of visualization, take on an embodied form if you like. Because it's very difficult to quantify nothingness and to look at nothingness. You might have an amazing interdimensional brain that can actually observe that nothingness. Or you might prefer to create an embodied version of spirit that isn't how you appear at the moment. And let me just say in the small print there, embodied spirit is actually you. So it can be you looking in the mirror. It can be you with your human eyes looking at your third eye. It can be you looking at the two-petaled purple lotus with Om written in the middle. It can be you looking at a kind of a Gandalf version of yourself. Just let yourself do this as a little portal into our silence. And let that dissipate if it's not helpful. You don't have to use every suggestion that's given to you. These are just helpful little tips to get us in the zone, as it were, or to remind us that the zone is already there more correctly. Let's take our palms together into Anjali Mudra, recognizing the gift of this practice to our own hearts. And we'll chant for peace, taking a slow breath in. Shanti, 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 Hari Om. Inhaling to reach the arms out and all the way up, representing gathering all the goodness of our practices. And then exhaling, palms together, bring them down through the center line as we bow forwards, depositing that goodness into our hearts, bowing to each other, this land, the present moment, coming back up. The consciousness, the spirit in me, sees, reveres, celebrates, recognizes, and salutes the consciousness and spirit in you. Namaste. Thanks, everybody. Well done. So if you're watching this right now in real time, we are now finished our meditation term for 2025. We'll be back in the mat in mid-January 2026. I wish you all such a gorgeous Yuletide, Christmastide, solstice. If you're getting time off, have a great time off. If you're working, I hope you feel the good vibes anyway. I'll see you at the chanting workshop on Thursday night. If you're watching this video, you know, in 2028, in the middle of summer, have a gorgeous summer. Wherever you're at, these subjects that we broached today through our philosophy practice are evergreen. We're dealing with this stuff all the time. So go gently on yourself. Remember that yoga comes from a practice of love. This is not another stick to beat ourselves with. Discipline is an act of self-love. So please go gently. And if you're going through a tough time, you know, use your yoga to help you, and use as much of it or as little of it as you need in whatever way is relevant to you. And I will see you on the mat at some stage or in the next video. Thanks, everybody. Namaste.